going to be replacing the front brake rotors on the 1980 Honda CB900 Custom with EBC rotors. Part numbers here are MD1036LS and MD1036RS, and that's simply for the left side and the right side. So let's just take a look at the brake rotors here. This is the box they come in. They're very nicely packaged, and as you can see, they are floating rotors. The difference being you have a center hub that is bolted directly to the wheel, and then you have a series of rivets that allow the actual rotor to move independently from the center hub. And that helps with heat dissipation, and it also helps keep the brakes from warping. Even if there's a slight misalignment of the calipers, it can accommodate for that. So these look just beautiful, very nicely produced pieces, and I can't wait to ride the bike once these are on. Okay, we are just about ready to start here on installing the EBC brake rotors on a 1980 Honda CB900 Custom. I have the jack in place. I have the tools that will be needed for the job out in front of the bike. We'll need a 17mm open-end wrench, 3 sockets. The first one is a 19mm socket, and this is for these 2 bolts. We also have a 12mm socket to remove the brake calipers, 22mm box wrench here to remove the axle, and brake cleaner. We'll actually clean the brake rotors before we install them, and paper towels just to wipe everything down, make sure we do a nice clean job and we don't have any residual grease on the brake rotors themselves after the installation. Okay, unfortunately, when I mounted the EBC brake rotors, the thickness of the brake rotors was more than the stock brake rotors. And what happened was, on the last bolt, I actually stripped out the head, and shouldn't say the head, but the end of the threads here on the bolt, because the nut didn't seat far enough on. And I'm not sure if you can see, but the bolts aren't long enough to come through the wheel and all the way through the nut on this side. So I'm going to have to go back and order some longer studs so that we don't have that potential failure again. And on the brakes, it's certainly safety first. When I put the original studs through the wheel, the studs themselves were too short. So what I did was I went ahead and ordered new grade 8 M8 by 1.25 bolts. I ordered ones that were 105 millimeters long, and that seems to be the perfect length. They clear everything very nicely. I also ordered new metal locking nuts just for an extra measure of safety on the wheels. So let's, now everything's buttoned up, let's go see how the brakes work. I'll go ahead and get on the brakes and just let you see it's a drama-free stop. And so that's the difference. Beforehand, I probably would have been stopping closer to this white post, definitely beyond that tree. But the new EBC brake rotors, man, what a difference. In combination with the Spiegler brake lines. This bike, when I first got it, honestly was not safe to ride, just because the brake lines had degraded to the point where they weren't transferring much stopping power to the calipers. And the rotors were warped and glazed, the original calipers. And these new rotors, another thing, the advantage that the EBC rotors have is they're floating rotors, and they just perform much better.